Hello, gang. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. Today, I want to talk about leadership with you, leadership or leaders. All right. Well, if I think about marketing for a moment, it's not exactly how I think of you on the receiving end of this show, right? I think of when I created my marketing agency and the coaching that I do in marketing, while you may be a leader, how I've thought of you as a business owner who wants to grow their business. And so much of how I think about you is from that frame, right? That you, there's Ellie. From that frame that you're a business person and you're trying to grow your business and provide for your family and all that, right? Live out your important work. And even though you may be a leader, I just haven't thought about that way. And it changes how I think about you, or it changes how I even think about my marketing if I think about you as a leader. All right, now, let me go to another place, because some of you, your audience are not already in business. I think it's an easier jump to think of somebody in business as a leader. But some of you, as healers and coaches, are working with people who are not already admittedly a leader. Maybe they are a parent. And I get it, you can argue that that's a leader, but what I'm saying is that they wouldn't see themselves as leading a host of other people, okay? Maybe you are a healer and the work you primarily do is healing people in spirit or in body, and you also don't think of that as being as them being a leader. So here's why this is important, because I started to realize, like, if you're going to be well, look, you have important work. And if you're going to grow that important work at some point, if that important work is to grow, you're going to need leaders to help you grow it, right? For me to create a Groundswell, I'm going to need more leaders, because there are more people in the world that I want to help that I can't help one-on-one. I won't have the time to hit the numbers I want to hit. I did this crazy, maybe I'll create another episode sometime, but I had this crazy whiteboard session today that was just, I was pushing myself to think bigger. And it was, when you, it's so confronting when you think you're big, when you think you have a big vision, only to realize that your big vision isn't nearly big enough. Like, that's where I was today. And when I set the really big vision, once I got past all my excuses about how I couldn't get to that big vision, and I started to wrestle with, well, what would have to happen for me to get to the really, really big vision? What I realized I would need are leaders. And up to this point, this is the thing that happens for us as solopreneurs, as people who are running our own businesses from the comfort of our home or wherever you run your business. What happens is a lot of times we choose this path because we don't want to manage people, and it's easy lifestyle stuff. But once you get past the easy lifestyle stuff and you start to reconnect to your purpose and the impact you want to make, you start to realize that you want to help more people. And if you push yourself, and if you think of yourself as a soul whose goal is to expand and create as much as possible, then you start to see some really big numbers show up in terms of your vision. And those numbers can be very confronting when you're not used to planning around those size of numbers. So my point is that for you to grow your Groundswell, you're going to have to start to think about tailoring your message or refining your audience as leaders. They are leaders. And even if they're not in a leadership position yet by title, they are emerging leaders that once you help them connect to their truth, once you help them connect and heal with their spirit or their body, or you connect them to whatever it is that you coach about or help people about, that when we are as souls, when we are connected to who we are, what happens is we want to share that back with others. And when you share it back with others, what are you doing? You're leading people. So I want you to here's my point. I want you to start to think about your audience as leaders, emerging leaders, future leaders. So take whatever you know about your current audience and just add the characteristic that they are a future or emerging leader. They are who they already are. So I'm not saying find a new audience. I'm just saying with the existing audience you have, I want you to start to think of them as future and emerging leaders. Because when we get whole, when we get healed, when we are connected to our purpose, what happens is we end up wanting to shine our light to others. And that, by definition, to me, is leadership. And an interesting thing happens in your message and your marketing and who you're being when you start to think of your audience as leaders. You start to show up even more as a leader because you realize that to lead leaders, you have to lead yourself more than you've been doing to this moment. When you lead leaders, you have to show up more than you've been showing up. They will demand it. They will require it. In order for you to stay ahead of them, you're going to have to keep working on yourself and your message. You'll notice that some things you start to say in your message tweak a little bit as well because you're now speaking to them as emerging leaders. So here's to you, gang, and your leadership. You're refining your message for those future leaders that you'll be leading. And if you'd like to learn more about how to refine that message, right, and step into your own leadership in a bigger way, I recommend you take my 6-week program called the Groundswell Method Intensive. It's 2 hours of training with me a week plus 2 one-on-one calls with me over those 6 weeks. The place to start, if that's interesting to you, is my free course called Marketing for the Rest of Us, the course, which you can start at groundswellmethod.com. On the last page of that course is an application for the 6-week program, and that is what you do if you want to apply. Thanks for hanging out with me here. Here is to you fostering future leaders. See ya.